Sorry about that. We'll try and get John Maguire back. In the meantime, let's talk to Tom Robinson, who's from the English Defence League, which protests against Islamic extremism and was involved in a series of demonstrations, some of which became violent last summer. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Would you, if an Islam for UK march is in fact given permission to go ahead, would you also want to attend?
It's been tricky. We've been looking at it. We don't feel that Wootton Bassett is somewhere that needs 2,000 English or 3,000, 4,000 English Defence League supporters descending on it, angry at the fact of these Islamic extremists. We've took the decision that if Anjem Choudary's Islam for UK do try and attempt to protest at Wootton Bassett, then we have Anjem Choudary's address, along with his second-in-command, Saif al-Islam's address, along with the two mosques that they preach their hatred in, and we will descend on all four of them addresses in our thousands if they try and attempt a protest in Wootton Bassett. To be honest, I don't think they will. It won't. It will never happen, and there'll be thousands of people anyway counter-protesting or stopping their entry into Wootton Bassett. And
what does descend mean?
It means we will peacefully protest, but we will peacefully protest on their front doors, because what they're doing is it's preaching hatred again. The government has an inability to deal with them. They have had an inability to deal with them. For 10 to 15 years of Islamic extremists have had freedom to roam our country and preach their hatred. And we formed as a direct result of the hatred that was spewed at our soldiers in Luton. We formed our organisation, which is a non-racist organisation that welcomes all colours, all faiths, everyone. It's called the English Defence League, but although it's called the English Defence League, both of my parents were Irish immigrants to this country. It's an organisation that any English citizen, as long as they agree with our fundamental beliefs, which is we're against all Sharia courts operating in this country, we want them all closed down, we're against all Islamic extremists, we're against the funding of British mosques in this country by Saudi sects, who are the Wahhabi form of Islam, which teaches complete non-integration. We have so many... A lot of moderate Muslims are coming out, keep saying that Anjem Choudary is bringing their religion into disrepute. Well, I can think of 3 or 4 non-Muslims who have brought their religion into disrepute. Salman Rushdie was hiding for 20 years. Van Gogh, who was murdered. The Danish cartoonist, who had an attempt on his life 2 days ago. Now, if Anjem Choudary really is bringing their religion into disrepute, as they all keep saying, why is he given the freedom of every Islamic community in this country? Why is he touring the country, having Islamic roadshows, and he's not met by anger or frustration or a hardcore group protesting against him? He's not met with anything other than handshakes.
Are you against the march? Are you against the march full stop, or is it simply the march taking place in Wootton Bassett?
Yeah, we're against everything he says, full stop.
He says he wants to raise the issue and talk about the fact that Muslims are being killed in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah, well, correct, they are, by fellow Muslims. Most of the victims of these wars are by suicide bombings by fellow Muslims. So why doesn't he talk about that? He never wants to talk about that. He never wants to talk about all the deaths that the rival Muslims are causing to each other. That's what our British forces are doing, which are out there trying to broker peace. So he twists it whichever way he wants to twist it. And to think that we've even got this man and we allow him to have an organisation in our country and to travel our country promoting his hatred, and no one's doing anything about it. It's from our point of view, it's a joke, and this is exactly why we formed.
But then some people say, look, they're just words that he spouts. It doesn't mean,
but they're not just words, because his group, Al Mujahideen, 1 in 5 Muslims in this country which are in jail for terrorist atrocities or links to terrorist atrocities are ex-members of Al Mujahideen. They have sent so many people. They are linked to every single suicide bombing by British-born Muslims everywhere in the world. They're not just words.
If you went to his house in numbers, what would happen?
What would happen? It would probably the same way that soldiers' families and the people of Wootton Bassett will feel disgusted at what is happening if he enters there. I'm pretty sure his family and his neighbours will feel disgusted with him, because he will be the direct result of it. And to be honest, I don't think he'll do it anyway, because, well, he will be allowed to do it by a government, because they have a complete inability to deal with these extremists. He should be in a prison cell, not on every front page of every newspaper and every radio station preaching his hatred. Now, we've been raising awareness to this now for 8 months as an organisation. We've been travelling the country, and if moderate Muslims stand up to Anjem Choudary, they'll be hailed as heroic moderates. Now, we're standing up to them, and we're held on everyone calling us far right. What's far right about opposing Sharia law? What's far right about protecting women's rights? What's far right about wanting Islamic extremists who are preaching hatred in our towns and cities? They operate, Islam for UK operate, they've been in Luton University for the last 6 weeks.
What about, I mean, a number of suggestions from listeners to our phone in this morning was, let him do it, and we just completely ignore him. We don't give it any media attention. Let him go right ahead.
But that's what everyone says. Like the Muslims say, they're just a small number of Muslims, but they're not. They're planning atrocities, and he is directly linked to all of them atrocities, and so are his organisation. To think that this group are preaching their hatred and no young Muslims are being drawn in by them is naive. Now, Anjem Choudary himself, or his second-in-command, Saif al-Islam, was a law-abiding moderate Muslim until he went to Oxford University, where he was radicalised. Now, that's a crime in itself. How can we have in our universities young, innocent Muslims are being targeted by these radicals, they're being radicalised, and we all see the outcome of it, and everyone wants to pretend it's not a problem and they're just a small number of people and no one's listening. Well, yes, they are listening. In towns and cities across this country, they're listening, and that's why, at present time now, we've got more extremists in this country than we've ever had. And to pretend and just want to brush it under the carpet and pretend it's not happening is just adding to the problem.
Who do you think is pretending it's not happening?
The Muslim community are pretending. Every time you hear them talking, it's like, they're just a small number of people, no one listens to them. Well, yes, they do. That's why we've got more extremists operating in this country than we've ever had.
So in terms of somebody like Anjem Choudary himself, do you think he should be taken off the streets, arrested for something and put...
Yeah, he should. It should be like... he should be put in prison. Full stop.
So charged with what? Just inciting hatred?
Inciting hatred. The same way, when Britain was at war with the IRA, we wouldn't allow 20 Irishmen stand in our town centres and recruit from. So why are we allowing 20 Muslims? Because they're hiding behind their religion every time. Let's take a tough stance. Forget political correctness. Deal with them. Everyone in this country wants them dealt with. But because the government are too scared of offending the wider Muslim community every time, they won't deal with them. And it's all to do with the block Muslim vote. But we've had enough of it, and this is exactly why we formed. And since that happened yesterday, since he announced that, we've had thousands of emails from concerned members of the public asking what we're going to do as an organisation. And as we've said before, we've been slated ourselves, but we oppose certain things, Sharia law, Islamic extremists, the spread of extremism in this country, which isn't being tackled by anybody. These groups, we've heard about this because it's Wootton Bassett, but these groups are operating in certain towns and cities, i.e. Luton, unchallenged, promoting hatred. They're in the universities, and they target them on Freshers' Week. So on Freshers' Week in Luton, when people's children are going away from home for the first time to study at university, rather than worrying about them getting hooked on drugs or anything like that, you have to worry about whether they're going to come out as radical extremists, because they're being targeted.
Thanks for talking to us. Tom Robinson, who is from the English Defence League.